The strangest part wasn't finding the location history, it was how calm my best friend sounded while we were looking at it together. He leaned over my shoulder, one hand on the back of my chair, the other pointing at the screen like he was walking me through directions. "See that?" he said. "She's been there 3 times this week." His voice didn't shake. Mine did, because that place wasn't work. It wasn't her gym. It wasn't anywhere she had ever mentioned. Just a pin on a map, sitting in the same quiet corner of the city, repeating like a mistake someone forgot to fix. I zoomed in, then out, then in again, as if the building might change if I looked at it differently. It didn't. "You don't have to jump to conclusions," he added, but his tone didn't match the words. It was too measured. Too prepared, like he'd already had this conversation in his head. I remember asking him, "Do you think she's cheating?" And he didn't answer right away. He just leaned back, crossed his arms, and stared at the screen for a long second, longer than necessary. "I think," he said finally, "you should find out for sure." That was the moment everything started to feel structured, not chaotic. Not messy, structured, like we weren't discovering something, like we were following a plan that had already been written. I just didn't realize yet that I wasn't the one who came up with it. Up until that night, I hadn't questioned her once, not seriously. There were things, sure. Little gaps. Moments that didn't quite line up. But I told myself that's just what happens when 2 people get comfortable. You stop explaining every hour of your day. You trust the other person to fill in the blanks, and I did trust her. We'd been together for almost 3 years. Long enough that her toothbrush had its own spot at my place. Long enough that my weekends were automatically ours unless someone said otherwise. She wasn't distant. That's the part that still messes with me. She laughed at my dumb jokes. She'd still reach for my hand without thinking. If anything, she felt consistent. Predictable, in a good way. That's why the first time something felt off, I almost ignored it completely. It was a Tuesday. She said she was staying late at work. Nothing unusual. But around 10, I sent her a message. Just a normal check-in, no reply. Midnight passed. Still nothing. When she finally texted back, it was short, "Sorry, long day. Fell asleep early." I remember staring at that message, not because it was suspicious. But because it didn't sound like her. No extra words. No emoji. No follow-up question, just a full stop. I showed it to my best friend the next day, half joking, like I was trying to convince myself it was nothing. He didn't laugh. He read it twice. Handed my phone back, and said, "That's not normal." The way he said it made something small inside my chest shift, like he'd just given a shape to a thought I wasn't ready to see, and once it had a shape, it didn't go away. He started noticing things before I did, or maybe he just said them out loud first. We were sitting on his couch a few nights later, some random show playing in the background neither of us was watching. My phone buzzed once on the table. Her name lit up the screen, then disappeared just as fast. I picked it up. "No message, see?" he said, not even looking at me. "That's weird." "It was probably nothing," I muttered, putting the phone back down. He finally turned his head. "You're doing that thing." "What thing?" "Where you explain everything away so it fits." I didn't answer. Because he wasn't wrong. Instead, I asked him why he cared so much. It came out sharper than I meant it to. He didn't get defensive. He just shrugged, like it was obvious. "Because you're my friend. And you look like you're slowly going crazy pretending everything's fine." That should have annoyed me, but it didn't. It felt grounding, like someone else could see what I was trying not to. Over the next week, he became the person I went to with everything. Every late reply, every cancelled plan, every "sorry, I'm busy tonight." I'd show him messages, and he'd read them carefully, like there was something hidden between the lines, and sometimes, he'd point things out I hadn't noticed, patterns, timing, little inconsistencies that felt too small to matter on their own, but started to stack up. "You don't need to accuse her," he said one night. "Just pay attention." So I did, and the more I paid attention, the less everything made sense, not because it was chaotic, but because it was starting to look deliberate. The idea to check her location wasn't mine. that's something I keep coming back to. We were sitting at my kitchen table, my phone between us, her last message still open. She had cancelled dinner again. Said she was exhausted. Said she needed a night to herself. He tapped the table lightly, like he was thinking, do you still share locations? He asked. I hesitated. Yeah. We turned it on a while back. Mostly for convenience. He nodded, slow. Not surprised, check it. It felt invasive. Even though technically, it wasn't. She had agreed to it. We both had. It was supposed to be for things like meeting up faster, not. This, I don't know, I said, if there's nothing going on. He replied, then you're just confirming that. Simple. Clean. Logical. I unlocked my phone. For a second, I almost closed it again. Like if I didn't look, whatever was waiting there wouldn't become real, but he was watching. Not pushing, just present, so I tapped her name, the map loaded, and there it was, not her apartment. Not work. Not anywhere familiar, just a quiet street I didn't recognize. Zoom in, he said softly. I did, an apartment building. Older. Nothing special. But the timestamp told me she'd been there for hours. My stomach tightened. Maybe she's visiting someone, I said quickly. A coworker or, she told you she was home, he cut in, still calm. That's when it hit me, not the location, the lie. I stared at the screen, trying to line up the two realities in my head, her voice, telling me she was exhausted, probably already in bed, and this, a completely different place. At the same time, she wouldn't just lie, I said, but it sounded weaker now. He didn't argue, he just leaned back and said, then there's an explanation. He paused, watching me carefully. You just need to find out what it is. We didn't confront her, that was his idea too. Not yet, he said. If you ask now, she'll just explain it away. And you'll want to believe her. I hated how accurate that sounded, so instead, we waited, or. He told me to wait, and I followed. The next few days felt stretched, like time was moving slower on purpose. Every message from her carried weight. Every I'm busy tonight sounded rehearsed, even when it probably wasn't. I started checking her location more often than I want to admit, at first, just once a day. Then every few hours. Then whenever my phone was already in my hand, and there it was again, that same building, different times. Different days. Always for long stretches. Always when she told me she was somewhere else, I showed him everything. He kept track in a way I didn't. Dates, times, patterns. He even wrote them down once, which I found. Strange, you're making a list. I asked, just keeping things straight, he said. So you don't second-guess yourself later. It made sense. It also made me uneasy, like this had already gone further than I meant it to. One night, he suggested we go there, not inside. Just. See, it's public, he said. You're not doing anything wrong by being on the street. So we drove, the whole way there. I kept telling myself we wouldn't find anything. That she'd be home, or at work, or anywhere else, but when we turned onto that street. I felt it immediately, that quiet, like the kind of place where people don't ask questions. He slowed the car, eyes scanning. Which one? He asked. I checked my phone, and pointed, and that's when I saw her car, parked right outside, exactly where the map said it would be. I didn't get out of the car, not at first, I just stared at it. Her car. Same scratch on the rear bumper, same little sticker in the corner of the back window. There was no mistake. She's here, I said, but it came out quieter than I expected. He nodded, like this confirmed something he already believed. Okay, he said. So now you know. But I didn't feel like I knew anything, because knowing she was there didn't explain why. She could still be visiting someone, I said, even though the words felt thin now. He didn't argue. He just watched the building. The lights in one of the upper windows were on. Warm, steady. Nothing dramatic. No movement, no silhouettes. Just. Normal. That almost made it worse. How long do we wait? I asked. He checked the time. Not too long. You don't want to sit here all night. But he didn't start the car. We sat in silence. The kind that presses on your ears. At some point, he reached over and turned off the engine completely. Just in case, he said. In case of what? I didn't ask. Minutes passed. Maybe more. It felt longer. Then, finally, the building door opened. Someone stepped out. Not her, a guy, tall. Hoodie. Hands in his pockets. He didn't look around, just walked straight to the street, like he'd done it 100 times. I watched him pass under the streetlight, trying to memorize his face, but he kept his head down. Do you know him? My friend asked. No, the word came too fast. The guy kept walking. Disappeared around the corner. We waited, another minute, then two, and then the door opened again, this time. It was her. She stepped out slowly, adjusting her jacket, like she wasn't in any rush to leave, like this was familiar, like she belonged there. I felt something in my chest drop, and next to me, my best friend exhaled, almost quietly. Okay, he said, now you know. I didn't confront her that night, even when she got into her car and drove right past us. I just sank lower in my seat and watched her go. He didn't tell me to follow, he didn't have to. Let's go, I said, already starting the engine. We kept a distance. Not too close, not too far. Every turn she took felt deliberate, like she was tracing a route I didn't recognize, but eventually, she parked outside her place, exactly where she was supposed to be, like the last few hours hadn't happened. We sat there for a moment, both of us watching her walk inside. She didn't look over her shoulder. Didn't hesitate. Just went in. That's it, he said quietly. I gripped the steering wheel. That's not it. What more do you need? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know. Proof. Closure. An explanation that made everything make sense again. None of those felt reachable anymore. The next day, I asked her, not directly. I didn't have the courage for that. I kept it casual. Light. Hey, what did you end up doing last night? She didn't even pause, just stayed home. I told you, I was exhausted. There it was again, the lie, clear. Easy. Delivered without hesitation. I watched her face as she said it, looking for something, anything, that might suggest doubt. There was nothing, just the same expression I'd trusted for years. I nodded, like I believed her. And later that night, I sat across from my best friend, repeating every word she said. He listened carefully, then shook his head. She's not even trying to hide it anymore, he said. That sentence stuck with me, not because it felt true, but because it made something shift inside me, from confusion to certainty, and once that shift happens, you start seeing everything differently. Once I decided it was real, everything started to line up, too perfectly. Every time she said she was busy, her location told a different story. Every gap in communication suddenly felt intentional. Even small things, like how she held her phone a little closer to her body, or angled the screen away without thinking, started to stand out, and every time I noticed something, I told him. It became routine. I'd sit on his couch, scrolling through messages, replaying conversations out loud. He'd listen, sometimes asking questions I hadn't considered, sometimes just nodding like he was piecing something together. You're not crazy, he told me more than once. This isn't in your head. I needed to hear that, more than I realized. One night, he said something different. You should get proof, he said. I looked up from my phone. I already know. Knowing and proving aren't the same thing, he replied. If you confront her without anything solid, she'll deny it. And you'll hesitate. He wasn't wrong. I hated that he wasn't wrong, so we made a plan, simple. Controlled. Nothing extreme. We'd go back to that street. Wait. Watch. Just like before. But this time, we wouldn't leave it at guessing. You deserve clarity, he said. That word again, clarity, it sounded clean. Final. Like something you could hold on to when everything else fell apart, so we went. Same car. Same quiet street. Same building, only this time, I wasn't hoping to be wrong, I was waiting to be proven right, and that shift felt heavier than anything that came before. That night, we stayed until late. Hours passed. Streetlights flickered. Occasionally, someone would walk past the building, neighbors returning from work, a delivery driver, a stray dog. But no one looked like her. No one looked familiar, and then, finally, the door opened again. It was her, not alone. She stepped out with someone else. I didn't recognize him at first. He was taller than me, younger maybe, with that kind of grin that makes you pause. They laughed quietly, shoulder to shoulder, like the world around them didn't exist. I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to jump out of the car, demand answers, shake her. But I didn't move. I couldn't. He nudged me gently. Stay calm. Watch. I stared at the pair. They walked a few steps together, whispered something, and then went into a nearby cafe. She looked back once, right toward our car, but I don't think she saw us. Or maybe she did, and didn't care. For a moment, I thought I understood. She's just seeing someone new, I whispered. It's someone from work. Or a friend. Nothing serious. Maybe she's confused. He looked at me strangely. Not shocked. Not disappointed. Just thoughtful. Could be, he said slowly. But maybe you're not seeing the whole picture yet. I wanted to believe him. I had to, and in that instant, I convinced myself I had clarity. That I had the whole story, but the truth was about to twist everything I thought I knew, because when you trust someone implicitly, the things they don't say matter just as much as the things they do, and he had been saying too little all along. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to focus at work, tried to pretend life was normal, but every ping from my phone, every casual message from her, felt like a test I wasn't prepared for. I went over every detail in my head. The times she was busy. The strange gaps in her texts. That night outside the building. The way she looked at him, the guy in the cafe, and a faint smirk that didn't belong to me, and then I remembered something small, a message I had dismissed weeks earlier. She'd send it late one night, almost jokingly, "Can't wait to see you both tomorrow." Both? I had laughed at it, assumed she meant a coworker, a friend. But now, the word echoed in my mind. Both. I opened my phone and showed him the message. He read it carefully, then looked at me. Not with surprise. Not with concern. "Interesting," he said. "Interesting?" I asked, incredulous. "You mean what?" He shrugged, slow. Calm. "Maybe you're not seeing all the players here." I frowned, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. "What do you mean?" "Just pay attention," he said, leaning back. "Sometimes the person who helps you the most is also the one hiding the most." I laughed nervously. A joke? Maybe. But the way he said it. It wasn't a joke, it didn't feel like one. That night, I went home, restless. Tried to replay everything in my head. Every conversation, every location ping. Every subtle hint she gave, and he pointed out, and slowly, almost painfully, the idea began to form. What if the person guiding me through the lies wasn't trying to help me at all? What if he was helping himself? I pushed the thought away. Didn't want it. Couldn't believe it, but somewhere, deep down, a tiny spark of doubt flickered, and doubt can grow faster than you expect. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Her and that guy from the cafe. Laughing, leaning in close, sharing secrets I wasn't part of. And then, my best friend's face flashed in my mind. Calm. Watching. Nodding along, I got up, grabbed my phone, and opened our message history. Scrolling through weeks of texts, I felt that familiar pit in my stomach, the one that tells you something is about to break. And then I saw it, a thread I'd missed. A simple conversation between him and her. Months ago. I opened it, heart hammering. It was casual at first. Friendly. But the tone changed subtly over time. Jokes that felt private. Comments only someone close would make. And then one line made my stomach drop so fast I almost threw up. "Can't wait for us to finally have time alone. He'll never know." I froze. Read it again. Slowly. No. That couldn't be right, but it was. my hands were shaking. The messages spanned months. Months of secret conversations while I thought he was helping me. Months of pretending to be my friend while manipulating everything behind the scenes. I sat back, eyes wide. Heart racing. It wasn't about some coworker. It wasn't about confusion, it was about him, and then, just as I was trying to process it, one more detail slammed into me. The timing. All the times she wasn't home coincided perfectly with times he was free. Times he could confirm or hide details. Times he could orchestrate my disbelief without me even realizing it. I wanted to scream, but the only sound in the room was my own ragged breathing. The person I trusted most wasn't my friend at all. He was the reason everything had happened, and worse, he'd kept it hidden under the guise of helping me. I couldn't face him, not yet. Not while my mind was spinning too fast to form words. I sat on his couch the next evening, pretending to watch TV. Pretending to be calm. Pretending like nothing had changed. He noticed immediately. Quiet tonight, he said casually, tossing a bag of chips onto the coffee table. Everything okay? I smiled, a thin, tight smile. Yeah. Just tired. He nodded, slow. His eyes lingered on me longer than necessary. That look I'd never noticed before. A hint of smugness, maybe. Or maybe it was pity, I couldn't tell. Then he leaned forward. You know. Sometimes the hardest part is realizing who's really on your side. My stomach turned, I forced a laugh. Yeah. You're right. He grinned faintly. It's crazy, right? You think someone's helping, guiding you. And the whole time they're playing their own game. I felt my face go pale. What are you talking about? He shrugged, calm. Too calm. Just keep paying attention. You'll figure it out eventually. And that's when I realized. He already knew I knew. The tension in the room was like static electricity. I could feel it in the way he shifted his weight, the way his eyes never left mine. I wanted to explode. To throw every accusation at him. But instead, I sat there. Frozen, because for the first time, I wasn't sure what the fallout would be. I thought I was angry at her. But now, the anger was moving in a different direction, and it scared me. It scared me because betrayal isn't just about someone lying to you, it's about someone choosing to betray you, quietly, while you trust them with everything, and I had given him everything. I needed proof, not messages. Not her location. Not even the late-night texts. I needed him, caught in the act, so I followed him. It started small. I told myself I was just checking, just making sure I wasn't imagining things. But the truth is, I couldn't trust my own judgment anymore. He went about his day like nothing had changed. Picked up coffee. Hung out at the gym. Sent casual texts. But I noticed patterns I hadn't before. Lunch breaks that were slightly too long. Calls he took outside. Small smiles at his phone, and then. One afternoon, it happened, he drove somewhere I didn't recognize. I followed at a distance, heart pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. He parked outside a small apartment building. Quiet. Ordinary. Unremarkable, and there she was, waiting, not surprised. Not hiding. Just waiting. The moment he got out of the car, she hugged him. Not like a friend. Not like someone comforting a companion. Like something else. Something I shouldn't have seen. I froze behind the steering wheel, stomach dropping. They went inside together. The door closed behind them, no words. No explanation, just the truth I had been avoiding. He had been orchestrating everything. Guiding me, feeding me information, giving me a sense of control, all while hiding himself in plain sight. I felt everything inside me shatter at once, anger. Disbelief, betrayal, and then the worst part hit. It wasn't just her he had betrayed me with, it was the person I trusted the most in the world, and the realization hit harder than any betrayal I'd ever imagined. I didn't confront them right away. Part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted to scream, to storm in, to make them see the destruction they'd caused. But I stayed in my car, hands gripping the wheel, heart hammering like it would break through my chest. I watched for hours. Not because I expected more, but because I couldn't tear my eyes away. Every laugh they shared, every subtle touch, every look, it was like a cruel reminder that everything I'd believed was a lie. When he finally left, I followed him again. Quiet. Careful. Every instinct screamed at me that I shouldn't, but I couldn't stop. He went to his apartment, my apartment for years, my best friend's safe space. A place I had trusted him more than anyone. And then I saw it, a message flashed on his phone as he stepped inside: "Everything's going according to plan. He'll never see it coming." My hands went cold. I understood everything then. The false guidance, the late-night check-ins, the calm reassurance while I spiraled, it wasn't about helping me catch her. It was about hiding himself. Manipulating me. Controlling the narrative so he could have her without ever being caught. I felt like I'd been living inside a lie for years, and then the other truth hit me. It wasn't just her, it wasn't just him, it was my younger brother. They had been seeing each other behind my back, everything, the late nights, the subtle hints. The small lies, had been orchestrated. Not by her, not by chance, but by him, and by my own family. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was personal. Deep. Poisonous, and in that moment, I realized the person I trusted most had been building a life behind my back. With people I thought I could count on, everything I thought I knew was gone. The world felt smaller, darker, and unbearably quiet, and the question that kept echoing in my head was simple, terrifying, and impossible to answer: who do I trust now? The next days were surreal. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't talk to anyone without imagining them laughing behind my back, knowing secrets I wasn't meant to know. My apartment felt empty, hollow, like the walls had absorbed every lie. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't reach out to him. Not immediately. I just sat, replaying every memory. Every shared joke, every friendly gesture, every late-night call. Everything was tainted now. Everything was a setup, and then came the final twist. I opened my phone, scrolling through old conversations with my younger brother. Innocent chats, or so I thought. Then I found one message buried under months of texts: "He trusts us completely. Let's not ruin it." I stared at the screen. My brother. My friend. My girlfriend. All orchestrating, all knowing, all colluding behind my back. I felt my hands shake. My chest tighten. And yet, in the same moment, a dark, strange clarity arrived. It wasn't just betrayal. It was control. They didn't just cheat. They manipulated. They curated my perception. They let me chase ghosts while they lived their truth behind a veil. I had two choices: confront them and destroy every relationship I once valued, or step back, let them live with their secret, and carry the weight of knowing the truth myself. I haven't decided yet, but sometimes, late at night, I replay their smiles. The ones I thought were for me. And I realize the most dangerous kind of betrayal isn't when someone leaves you, it's when someone you trust the most decides your reality isn't real. And you only find out too late, because the truth isn't always meant to set you free. Sometimes, it just makes you wonder if you were ever free at all.